she met him there.
Yeah.
And of course I met him, Brian, on a blind date. I told you that.
Yeah.
And then he told me after he left me, he says, "Now I'm not sure, but I'm not going to have to work next weekend," because he drove the different officers throughout. One of them was some kind of an instructor, and then of course he drove for the general.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "I may have to be out of town with the lieutenant colonel or somebody to inspect something, and he may not be in next weekend, but he says, I'll call you." He says, "We'll go out if I'm in town, and if I win enough money playing poker."
I was playing poker.
He's a good poker player.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I'd play the slots in Vegas, and I would win occasionally, and then I'd lose. You know
Yeah.
how you do. You just win, you lose. And then I'd borrow from Brian. He had won. He was so lucky. Oh, he could play blackjack and win, and just, anyway. You can't do that now, but
Yeah.
anyway, if he'd win, well, then I'd borrow from him. But we usually end up being broke anyway. So,
Of
anyway,
course.
he was good like that. But anyway, I'm trying to think now what. Oh, well, he came the next weekend then. He didn't have to work. He says, "Well, I guess we'll go dancing again if you want." He didn't like to dance, but I made him dance. He wasn't a very good dancer, but I made him dance. So we went, and sometimes if he didn't have a lot of money, we'd go to the prize fights.
Mm-hmm.
He loved the prize, and they had those every, I don't know whether it's on Friday or Saturday nights, one. And if we couldn't go dancing, because that was pretty expensive to go out there,
Mm-hmm.
we'd go to the prize fights.
Right.
And then we'd go have hamburgers at Phil's, which was just not very far from the prize place, the arena, or wherever they had it. And I can't remember. It probably was one night. See, our basement had a rec room at the Y. I lived at the Y
Right.
then, YMCA. Had a nice rec room in the basement, and we could go down there after the doors upstairs closed.
Oh.
So we would go down there and we'd visit or talk, or usually we were too tired to play pool or whatever they had, but anyway. And I think we were just talking and visiting, and of course I knew as much about his life and everything, even before,
Yeah.
we talked about marriage. He had met Mom and Dad. I had taken him up there one Saturday for dinner. Brian always hated lemon pie. My mother had lemon pie
Oh,
for
no.
dessert. But he told me afterward, I said, "I know when she put that in front of you, I didn't know what was going to happen."
Oh, that's funny.
He says, "But I ate it."
That's right.
He says, "I ate it." I said, "Well, I'm glad you did."
That's
he
funny.
says, "But I don't want any more."
No more lemon pie.
But anyway, I thought that was cute.
That's
'Cause
cute.
Here he ate it.
He ate it to be nice.
Impression.
Yeah, to make a good impression.
And my folks liked him, and then, let's see, I don't think we went up there anymore. Mom and Dad came down a lot, and sometimes we go out to eat, and sometimes I just fix something there at the, if I had it and could do it. But usually they'd bring something to eat when they come down,
Yeah.
and always bring something for Dick. Mother would have
For
gone-
Brian, for Grandpa Brian, you
Grandpa
mean?
Brian.
Yeah.
Mother would have been to the stores and bought something for
Right.
always. And in fact, let's see, I'm trying to think whether they took Dick up home. Yes, they did take him up when we lived in Omaha. They'd take him up for a week and then bring him back,
Yeah.
and he loved that.
Aw.
Dick loved that. Then he was a little older. He'd go up and he'd stay 2 weeks. He'd go on the route with Grandpa.
Oh, how fun.
And
On the
he
mail
was
route.
Grandpa's pride.
Yeah.
Even people that I knew in Herman, said, "Well, how's Dick, Grandpa?" Or they called my grandpa, or my dad, Pee-wee.
Pee-wee. Oh, yeah, 'cause he was short, right?
He was nicknamed.
Yeah.
And he'd say, "Well, how'd you enjoy your grandson?" "Oh, he was great. He just helped me with the route. He put the mail in the boxes."
Right.
Anyway, back to Brian. we were sitting there talking. We talked a lot about our families, and I knew he'd been, I won't say abused, but I would have called it abused myself.
Neglected, because neglected kind of. His mom
Neglected.
didn't take care of him.
He said after his father died, he was only 6 when his father died. His mother moved to St. Louis and left him with his grandparents. She didn't want him to begin with, he said.
Oh,
He could tell that.
yeah.
Anyway, this is awful to say, but that's what happened. He told me. He said she lived in St. Louis and I would go to visit occasionally. He says, I couldn't stay there. I didn't want to. She would have her boyfriends up and right in the same bed.
Oh, wow.
And
That's not good.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
He says, no, I knew it wasn't. And he
Yeah.
says, I didn't stay very long, but I made a visit and then I went back to Grandma and Grandpa's.
Yeah.
And I think he got tired of, and then when he was alone with her, she would give him a quarter and tell him to go get some hamburger and fix himself some
Oh.
hamburgers. She didn't see that he ate right.
Yeah.
She didn't have decent clothes for him because Grandma Sue bought those.
Right.
And I think he just got fed up with it after she married Ketry.
Mhm.
Because Ketry drank. Well, they both drank terribly.
Mhm.
His mother not quite so bad, but Ketry did.
Mhm.
Ketry wanted to go in business with the gas station, and I told Brian, I said, it won't work. I
Yeah.
said, it's up to you. I said, now if you want to work there part-time, you can, but I said, I don't approve of you going into business with him.
Right.
So I guess he thought it over and decided he was going to get a job. And, well, no, back to where he married, where we asked me to marry him.
Yeah.
We were just visiting and talking and about his folks, and he knew I had a good life, you know.
Right.
And he said, he says, I've got to settle down when I get out of the Army. He says, I don't know yet what I want to do. I said, you graduated from high school with the help of the people in Illinois.
The Lefflers, uh-huh.
And anyway, I said, what do you think you'd like to do? And he says, I don't know. But anyway, he says, I was trying to think, maybe he had thought about this. I don't know how he got hooked onto this printing job. Maybe it was people in Mexico. He had met these printers in Mexico. And I think he thought about, they encouraged him, to think about that because it was a good trade.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, I think he was thinking, he says, I think I've got a line on, I talked to, I can't remember the fellow's name, I was going to say George, but anyway, there were 3 brothers, Cale was their last name. He says, I've talked to the guys at Cale's, and they have a small printing shop, and they thought I might be interested in going into the government training program.
Uh-huh.
And he says, I think I would like that.
Right.
I says, well, that sounds good. He says, well, they won't pay much. And I says, well, I can still work. I'll still work until we get on our feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so he did. He started out, he asked me, he says, do you think we could make it? And I said, well, I don't know why we couldn't if we both have, we're both thinking about what we can do
Right.
and how it work out. But I think, no, that must have been before, because he didn't go into this until after he retired from the service or after he got out. But anyway, he said, you think we could really make it? And I said, yes, I think we could. I said, if we love each other, which we do. And I said, I just kind of wanted to baby him. I mean, he'd had such a rough life. I felt like he did compared to what I'd had.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he said, and then I think it was it Christmas? I got my ring on Christmas.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
He gave you your engagement ring? Was it a surprise, or did you know he was going to give it to you?
It was a little surprise because I really didn't want him to spend. It wasn't a big one.
Well, sure. You were
But
just
it was
young
a
and
pretty
starting
one,
out. Yeah.
you know. But anyway, I didn't know when he was going to give it to me, but he he says, look, I'm going to have a surprise for you. So apparently we didn't go dancing for a few weeks.
Yeah. So how did he wrap it up and put it under the Christmas tree, or did he get down on one knee and propose, or ask your dad first?
He didn't get on his knees.
No.
He just sat beside me and took my hand and took the ring and put it on my finger.
Aww.
He said, well, will you marry me? And I said, of course I will.
Yeah.
And of course we kissed. And
were your parents there?
No,
just the two of you?
Alone. He gave it to me before I don't remember whether we went up there for Christmas. Yes, I think we did go up for Christmas. And I showed him my ring the first time.
Were they excited? Yeah.
And anyway, I think that was it.
And then you got married.
Yeah, we were married on the post.
Yes, I have the picture of it in my hallway. I have a picture of you two on your wedding day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good.
Your dad's standing next to you, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That was
Grandpa
good.
was in his uniform.
Yeah.
Yep. And
they wouldn't even buy me a new dress because they didn't want me to marry him.
Oh no! I thought they liked him.
They liked him.
They just thought you were too young, or
they thought I was. Well, they didn't necessarily too young because I was 21.
Yeah.
But they thought he'd go overseas and then be left.
Oh, they were worried about you. Yeah. Well, you know, they worried about you losing him or your heart getting broken or something.
And you know, the first thing my mother asked me when they came down for our wedding.
What?
In the Colonel's, it was a nice wedding in the Colonel's house.
Yeah.
She got me over in the corner. Are you pregnant?
Did you say, Mom?
I said, no, I'm not.
That's funny.
Yeah, I thought that was strange.
That's funny.
I think that was another thing she was worrying about.
Yeah.
Leave me with the child.
With a child, right.
And, but I didn't blame him. And see, he told me once that his parents couldn't come for our wedding.
Oh, yeah?
And he didn't think mine should. And I says, no way.
Yeah.
And my father told him, too. He says, you think I'm going to let my daughter get married, my only daughter, and not be there?
Absolutely.
He said, we'll be there.
Yeah.
And they were.
That's funny.
I don't blame Dad. I mean.
Oh, no. Yeah. Sure.
I wanted him there. And I said, no, that's not fair, Brian, to say that.
Now, so did your parents give you a wedding gift, or did they give you cash, or did they give you something special?
My parents?
Yeah.
Brian was going to give the chaplain. They were such a nice young couple. No, they weren't very young, but anyway. She wanted to have a little reception for us, but we had to catch a train to go to Mexico.
Uh-huh.
To be with his parents, and that's one of the biggest mistakes we ever made. And a big mistake that we moved there, period.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
But anyway, my folks were there, and they took us to the train. We met it and got on the train and rode that darn train all the way to Mexico, Missouri, and had the awfulest. They didn't even have an extra bedroom for us.
Oh, no.
And I was so put out.
Yeah.
We just stayed a long weekend.
So you spent your honeymoon in Mexico, Missouri with his parents? You should have went on a honeymoon.
It wasn't very good honeymoon,
No,
I can tell you.
Not at all.
But we took one years later. I don't know how many years later, but anyway, we went to Colorado.
Yeah.
And we had we had a decent car then. When we started out, we had a car that broke down every weekend. And
Oh,
we'd get
no.
ready to go to the grocery store and break down.
That's not good.
But anyway, we made it fine. And
That's good.
we had a little grocery store up. Well, no, the first place we lived in. And when Brian came home on leave to Mexico, I think that was when he was just before we got married.
Yeah.
He bought me a stove and had it put in storage.
Yeah.
He said, well, we got to have a stove,
Right.
regardless of where we live.
Yeah.
So he bought this stove.
Aw.
So when we got back to Mexico, I don't think we had to stay with his folks too long because they didn't have room for us, and I didn't want to anyway because I don't know, I just didn't get along with his mother. I did my best, and I did learn to love her as she got older.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we found an apartment. I hope they can't hear me all over the.
No.
That we found an apartment in an old house that had 4 families in it.
Mm-hmm.
It had a bathroom downstairs that we had to share with 4 families.
Oh my goodness.
Our upstairs apartment, we had to go through her apartment to our 2-room apartment.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't care. She was a nice lady, had a little girl, which I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to heat water on my cook stove, and Brian had to carry it to the porch so that I could do laundry.
Oh, wow.
And I'm trying to think of something else we had. That was the only. Then we had to buy. And sharing that bath was no pleasure either.
Yeah, probably not.
We had to buy something to sleep on because we didn't have a bedroom. We just had one big room and a kitchen.
Right.
So we bought us a hide-a-bed, and we slept on that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to put bricks underneath the front steps, legs of that thing to keep it from going downhill.
Oh, because the floor was crooked?
Yes.
That's funny.
Well, it was while we lived there that we had, no, wait a minute, Dick was born in Omaha, so